Okay. I just want to welcome everybody this morning. It looks so different to see it like this. It's great. Okay. My name is Jackie, and I will be your worship associate today for this service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County. I describe myself as having short hair with blonde highlights. I am wearing a blouse and skirt. My blouse is blue and my earrings are blue and white. My pronouns are she and her. Before we begin this service, I would like to take the opportunity to express my gratitude to the following: Tom and Corey for the technology this morning, the building and grounds team who make this physical space a joy to behold, to our membership committee and the greeters for this service. Excuse me. I also thank our choir director, Jim, who is extraordinary, Dave, who's going to be playing music during the time of the offering, to the choir who will be singing the prelude, to Laura L., who decorates the sanctuary every Sunday with beautiful flower arrangements. And I also would like to thank Laura A. for helping this come together this Sunday, for this Sunday service. And lastly, I'd like to thank everybody that's here in person or virtually. I am glad you are here. And a reminder, please take this time to silence your cell phones to worship mode. Whatever your belief or the country of your heritage, you are welcome here. Whoever you are and whomever you love, you are welcome here. And whether you entered by walking in briskly or ambled in or rolled in, you are welcome here. Whether you are relatively new here or have been an active member for decades, you are welcome here. If you are new here and comfortable doing so, please stand in body or spirit or wave and state your first name and where you are from so that we can welcome you. Is there anybody new?
I have a couple of friends here from Washington State. They've fled the weather up there. It's snowing this weekend. And this is Larry and Kathy Thomas.
Welcome, welcome, thank you.
I'd like to introduce my son, Robert. He's from California.
Also fleeing the snow.
Welcome, Robert. Thank you so much. And if you have not already, please take the opportunity. Whoops, one more. Oh, hi there, sweetheart. How are you?
I'm actually I've been here a second time. I'm Bob's wife.
Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Bob, would you like to say something? This is Bob.
I'm Bob from St. Petersburg. It's good to be with you.
And I guess she's from Petersburg too, right?
We are together.
We're together. All right. If you are new here and at home and are also welcome, and whether you have at home or would like to learn more about our fellowship, you can email the office at uufcc.org or visit our website at uufcc.org. This morning's prelude is going to be sung by the choir. I hope you enjoy it. The title of the song is All Nature Sings. not our usual ones. They are by Florence Caplow. Reverend Caplow is the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign in Urbana, Illinois. She is also a writer, editor, and an ordained Soto Zen priest. Robert, will you please come forward and light the chalice? And I think I forgot to light the other one. Thank you. Please join me in reciting the words this morning. They're printed in the order of service. We light this chalice in honor of the animal realm, furred and hoofed, two-legged, four-legged, many-legged, fanned and clawed, gentle and fierce, wild and tame. May we remember that all animals are our relatives, worthy of our care and respect. This morning, Reverend Murphy is going to introduce our opening words.
The opening words are from Walt Whitman, the great American poet. Not a great American poet. I would suggest he is the great American poet. Walt Whitman, who had one great book that he wrote and rewrote and wrote and rewrote over and over again, Leaves of Grass. Now, one of the great poems in Leaves of Grass, which was rewritten over a period of many decades, so there are different versions, is Song of Myself. And Laura will read a part of it, just one verse, verse 32. Now, I am of the opinion that this is the finest poem about animals in religion ever written. No better poem will be found. At least that's my opinion. But of course, you're good Unitarian Universalists and you can judge for yourself. But we ask our reader to step forward. It's from Song of Myself by Walt Whitman.
I'm feeling some pressure here. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I stand and look at them long and long. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. Not one is dissatisfied. Not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Not one kneels to another, nor to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. So they show their relations to me, and I accept them. They bring me tokens of myself. They evince them plainly in their possession. I wonder where they get those tokens. Did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? Myself moving forward then and now and forever, gathering and showing more always and with velocity, infinite and omnigenous, and the like of these among them. Not too exclusive toward the teachers of my remembrancers, picking out here one that I love, and now go with him on brotherly terms.
Thank you, Laura. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing hymn number 346 in the gray hymnal. Come sing a song with me. Oh, we're singing 101 first? Okay, let's sing 101 first. 10-10 in the teal book. Yeah, I got it. Woo! The Book of Life. Tradition of sharing our life milestones with each other in this red book, the Book of Life. It is our way of recognizing the sacred journey of life. Today, the entries I have are okay, here we go. Oh boy. It is with gratitude and love that Mary Holly bids farewell to this beloved community. Yeah. She and Ben will travel to North Carolina and Nashville to visit grandkids. Then a 3-day drive to Tucson. So enjoy the desert flowers of spring. She is full of gratitude and love for this special place, and she will return. Yay. I'm glad. Okay, and Corey, I will be attending a job interview with Comcast, which could open a huge number of opportunities for me. Positive energy is needed. Blessed be. Thank you, Corey. Okay. This is the last Sunday of February, and you might remember a time pre-COVID when we had a ritual where we dropped a stone to represent a milestone in our life. We hope to continue this ritual the last Sunday of each month. You may also have noticed that there's a microphone, this one right here. If you like, you can tell us your name and briefly share your milestone. If you prefer to just drop a stone in the bowl, please feel free to do that as well. Each stone represents a milestone, a story, and the water represents the compassion of this fellowship. I hope you feel surrounded by our beloved community. Anybody wishing to drop a stone or say something, please come forward.
Good morning. Yesterday was Peace River Pride, and I was happy to volunteer there. And what I feel great about is there was 14 people signed up for interest in helping our PFLAG committee. So we were sort of stagnant after the hurricane. Now, well, hopefully for new life. And also there was a few members who were interested in coming to our wonderful fellowship. So that's why I'm sitting in the back waiting to welcome them on Sundays. So, yeah.
"44 years ago, Wednesday this week, I swam ashore at Ellis Island. So I've been here 44 years. Well, it was a jumbo jet to Chicago, but never mind. It's good to be here.
The stone that I dropped in represents the joy. Whoops. Okay, here we go. The stone represents that I threw in the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken but are held in our hearts. I would like you to please remain seated and join in singing hymn number 1031 in the Teal hymnal, Filled with Loving Kindness. And if I'm not mistaken, yes, there are 4 verses. The first verse is, "May I be filled with loving kindness." The second verse is, the I is replaced with you. In the third verse, the I is replaced with we. So it's I, you, we, and the fourth time is all. Okay? Got it?
Sounds good. Okay.
Our speaker this morning is Reverend Bob Murphy. Yay. Reverend Bob Murphy is a Unitarian Universalist community minister in Florida. Bob is the minister who started the Green Sanctuary program during the 1990s. Because of climate change and other environmental problems, he's active in a long list of environmental justice programs. Bob lives with his wife in St. Petersburg. Reverend Bob?
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you, congregation. Thank you, choir, especially. Are very much appreciated. All of you are very much appreciated. Now, I have to tell you at the beginning that some of my best friends are human. Okay. All right. Now, humans are very creative. And some of them are very nice. They can do all kinds of clever things, human beings. And at some level, I'm very appreciative of traditional humanism and at times have considered myself to be a humanist. But this Sunday especially belongs to all creatures, humanity included. And we're going to try to move beyond traditional humanism and maybe consider some new possibilities for Unitarian Universalists in the 21st century. So much will get said about animals, and when I say animals, of course, I include birds and fish and all sorts of creatures, including humanity. Now, there are two reasons for this special emphasis on other beings. First of all, for Florida, this is springtime, which might surprise some folks, some of our friends up north, because they're still struggling. Okay, we won't mention any particular states or anything, but in some parts of this country, they're struggling with snowstorms. But here in Florida, we're already enjoying strawberries, tomatoes, peppers, all kinds of things. And things are a little bit different down here. We try to live in the right sort of way with our environment and with our neighbors. On Thursday, I went to a meeting of a meditation group at Hammock Pond, which is at the Boyd Hill Nature Center in St. Petersburg. This was the first time the group has been outside for, several months actually, just for a, session of mindfulness. And when we went outside to the pond, we found that somebody else was already there. Chompers the alligator. Okay. Yeah, Chompers has a name. Okay, he's a very famous alligator who lives at Boyd Hill. There are other alligators too, but Chompers has his special pond. And apparently Chompers had decided that he too wanted a meditation session. Now think about that. Now, he's entitled to it. He has the same basic rights that we have. And he got there first. It's his pond. Okay. So our little group moved along to another place, and we let Chompers continue. And if you want to think about an alligator on a spiritual journey, I leave that to your imagination. Okay. I'm not going to try to answer that one. But in his own way, Chompers too likes to be part of his environment. And I suppose in his own way, he wants to live in the right sort of way with others. My wife Lynn and I do a lot of community gardening. So at this time of year, we're especially concerned about pollinators. We're concerned about bees. We're concerned about butterflies and other pollinators. Because they're dying in Florida. Most of the species you could identify as pollinators, they're in trouble because of climate change, because of pollution, loss of habitat, long list of problems. But as community gardeners, we're concerned about that. And I keep coming back to this theme. We want to live in the right sort of way with others, the right relationships. Second reason why February is Animal Month, at least for Unitarian Universalists, this is the month for Charles Darwin's birthday. Darwin was born on February 12, 1809, and by an amazing coincidence, same day, same year, that Abraham Lincoln was born. All right, two liberators, very different. Their lives, in some ways you could hardly compare them. Very different experiences. And yet two figures who are still important to us in the 21st century, Darwin and Lincoln. But today we talk about Darwin especially. He was born into a very famous English Unitarian, they weren't Unitarian Universalists, they were a Unitarian family in Shrewsbury, England. Some members of the family had been very prominent among the Unitarians, especially his grandfather Erasmus. who probably anticipated the theory of evolution by a couple of decades. Charles Darwin, I would argue, is one of the great figures in the story of modern religion, certainly for liberal religious people, but I would say for all people. And of course, much is argued over in terms of Darwinism and what it really represents and what direction it takes us in. Among the Unitarian Universalists, though, I think the significance of Charles Darwin comes down to this. When people ask, what's our grounding? What's the basis? What do people actually believe? What's your starting point? And again, I use that term grounding. I point to the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. And you recognize this as our seventh principle, the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. Some people say they want to be part of a larger community or a larger experience. This is something that is among their aspirations and ambitions. I say it doesn't matter, because you already are part of a larger community, and you do inhabit a universe that includes other beings with their own special needs and concerns. Dolphins, coyotes, crows, Chompers the alligator. We're all part of the great spiritual experience, all connected to each other. And you don't have to long and wish for being part of something bigger than yourself, because you already are part of something that's much larger than yourself. And this idea of the interdependent web of existence has been around for so long that nobody knows when or how or where it started, because it was present in ancient India with the Hindus. They talked about Indra's web. It was present in ancient Greece with the Stoics. They talked about a web of existence. This concept of a larger something, a bigger universe, beyond humanity, certainly beyond any individual. It's been in many places. It's universal. And it's something that we look to, I would say, for our grounding when we try to explain who we are and what we are to others. The religious, philosophical, spiritual view has been with humanity since ancient times. But what Charles Darwin did was he gave it a scientific foundation. He began to explain why and how, in scientific terms, the natural world works. And Darwin's theories have held up very well for several generations now, and particularly because of DNA research and other things that developed in the 20th century. We have a much better understanding of nature. We'll never understand all of nature. That forever eludes our understanding. Chompers probably knows as much as any of us. But we have a better understanding of the science that is so important to Unitarian Universalists. At the moment, there's a big discussion in progress, and I hope that you'll be involved in this discussion. It's in the Unitarian Universalist Association at the national level, where we're going back and we're trying to understand what it is that our understanding of liberal religion is all about. Who's included? What's involved? What's the basis for liberal religion as understood by Unitarian Universalists in this new century? Big discussion in progress. Our General Assembly, which is our annual convention in June, will be dealing with this issue, and then the General Assembly beyond that, and the following June and beyond that. This will go for several years. And perhaps you've had discussions already about the rewrite of the bylaws. Has this been discussed in Port Charlotte? You already have. Okay. You'll find there are many, many issues that are on the agenda. And one of the issues is, how do we relate to other beings? Our first principle has said we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Now that's in the existing set of principles, first principle. Are we willing and able at this point in history to extend ourselves even further, to express respect for all beings? Now, that doesn't mean equal rights for all beings. I don't know what Chompers would say about that. He probably doesn't want to vote anyway. But at some level, he's worthy of our respect. We have to think this one through, and it won't be easy. Because for much of Western history, concern for other beings is not really high on the agenda. We're not really sure sometimes as humans how we do relate to other creatures, or if they're important at all. But now we face the issue, we face it in the UUA, and I hope you're involved in the discussion. It's that important. Who's included in our circle of moral concern? Who's under our umbrella of protection? Who receives sanctuary at our property? Maybe not inside the building, but certainly in these grounds that surround the church building, the meeting house. Who do we invite? What happens when they show up for dinner? You may want to think about these issues during the months ahead. This morning we had the reading from Walt Whitman, verse 32, Song of Myself, where Whitman pauses in the midst of his reflections and thinks or says, you know, sometimes I think I would be better off if I just did live with the animals. And then he comments about religion, and he says, think about them. They don't worship animals that existed thousands of years ago. They don't kneel in reverence to other creatures. They don't worry about owning things. Animals aren't into that kind of stuff. They just try to live in the right sort of way. And not just moment by moment. We now know enough about animals to realize that they can anticipate the future, make plans, at least some of them, many species. They're a lot more sophisticated than perhaps our ancestors gave them credit for being. Whitman thinks there's something to be learned here. Maybe we understood this approach to spiritual matters in the past, and maybe it's something that we've lost. Maybe it's something that we can regain. And so I recommend that poem to you from Walt Whitman. Unitarian Universalists are trying to, rediscover what religion's all about. Does it have a place in the modern world? I suggest that as we make our inquiries, we're going to find two things that are of special importance. First of all, we're going to rediscover the sense of, the term Rachel Carson, the naturalist, used. She said the sense of wonder, curiosity, this desire to know just a little bit more about our environment and our neighbors. Now, sometimes that leads us to good places, sometimes it leads us into difficult places. You all know about cats and curiosity, for example. Those of you who have cats. Some people say curiosity killed the cat. Maybe it did, I don't know. But there is that sense of wonder that's common to many species. Pops up in more places than expected. Animals seem to be curious. Many species, not all, but many species seem to want to know more about their surroundings. And not just for practical reasons, not just because they're in search of a meal. Sometimes for playful reasons. Sometimes for reasons that we're not really sure what's involved. In South America, there are stories about monkeys who stare at waterfalls and at rainbows for hours and hours. And why they do this, we're really not sure. No particular reason that we can identify, not anything especially pragmatic. Maybe just curiosity, maybe a sense of awe, a sense of wonder. Just looking at rainbows. Why would they do such a thing? And in North America, there are stories about species, animals that will wander into the circle of light provided by a campfire. Bears sometimes, wolves, other creatures attracted to the light. Maybe they're looking for a meal, maybe there's something else that we could easily explain. And then again, maybe it's beyond that. Maybe they may be curious about what caused this light in the midst of darkness. Who are these strange creatures with two legs? Maybe they want to get to know us a little bit better. Maybe it's a sense of curiosity. Maybe it's something even deeper than that. And once again, I leave it to your imagination. But do keep these things in mind. Practical matters. What can we actually do for our brothers and sisters who are out there? The ones who fly, the ones who walk on 4 legs or many legs. Snakes have no legs. How do we relate to them in the right sort of way? I can tell you, this is not the first congregation to have to deal with such things. Have you had ants in the kitchen, for example? Or mice that scamper through closets? I know one congregation in Florida that became very divided over just how to deal with these unexpected guests. This became a big issue for months, and maybe rightfully so. How do we treat other creatures? All sorts of practical questions come up, and there may be some very practical solutions for you to consider. Maybe it begins with education at the local nature center. For me, it would be Boyd Hill in St. Petersburg, but I know you have similar centers here in this area, Port Charlotte. Learning more about how your ecosystem works. Who else is included in this natural world for this part of the country? Education. And beyond that, there's certainly a great many things that you can do. We can talk about the need to, restore wildlife protection, damaged during the recent hurricane and damaged by various projects. Try to do restoration work as best we can. Beach cleanups are part of that, even roadside cleanups, just trying to accommodate some of our neighbors in the right sort of way. I mentioned pollinators a few minutes ago, and those of you who are gardeners can appreciate that message. Some of the congregations now are establishing gardens that attract bees, that attract butterflies, that are just friendly places that migrant creatures can stay at, find sanctuary. And that might be something that would be possible. Perhaps you've already done that. I don't know. I know you've had gardens in the past, and the landscape here is very attractive. And there are other things as well. When I visited you in November, there was a potluck back there, and I can remember that there were vegetarian and vegan specialties. Now, I don't think that all of us, myself included, are prepared to go to a plant-based diet, not entirely. But I do believe that that's the future for humanity, because if we want to support 8 billion people or 10 billion people or whatever the figure turns out to be in this century, we want to support them in a moral sort of way on this planet, we're going to have to think about a plant-based diet. I don't think there's an alternative. And we may make that transition bit by bit, generation by generation, and congregations like this one may help to show the way. Sometimes it's as simple as showing people what vegetarianism and veganism can be like. Not lecturing at people particularly, not making demands, but simply leading by example. Bit by bit, one step at a time. Plant-based diet. Because I think that's what the future is going to be like if humanity expects to survive in this century of climate change. Anyway, I leave you with that thought. One final story at the end. I've been doing animal-related religious services now for about 30 years, a little bit less. And when I started many years ago, it was rather conventional, and we would bless the animals. And people would actually bring dogs and sometimes cats and other animals into a Sunday service, and there would be a blessing and everything else. And you've seen similar arrangements at other congregations. I don't do that anymore. And I'll tell you why. Because the more I thought about humanity and other creatures, I began to wonder if we were really the ones who should do the blessing. Maybe instead we should ask for forgiveness. Think about road rage. Think about the loss of biodiversity. Think about the destruction of wildlife habitat. Think about cruelty towards pets at home, animals deserted. Instead of us doing the blessings, maybe we should ask for forgiveness. Maybe they would bless us. Although I think Walt Whitman would laugh at such a suggestion. I think they're beyond that sort of thing. Let me tell you a story. I'm a diabetic. Been a diabetic now for several decades. Some years ago, I visited the Primate Center in Tarpon Springs. And there have been a lot of complaints about primate centers and other animal agencies that maybe they're not needed, or maybe the animals should be out in the wilds, or they don't like to be in cages, or whatever. And I'm not going to get into that argument today. But I was introduced to some of the monkeys there, and I discovered they're retired. Okay. They used to be used for animal experiments to develop the medications that are used by diabetics. Some of them survived, but they're no longer wanted by medical researchers. And so if they're fortunate, they get a chance to live at the Primate Center in retirement. And I thought about that. I have medications because of what they did, and similar creatures, what they did. And I need to recognize that. I need to be grateful. Maybe I should ask for forgiveness, but at the very least, to be mindful. And that's a start, and I hope you keep it in mind. Namaste.
Thank you. Wow. Okay. Yes, I'm okay. I think, wow, okay. In our tradition, congregations exist because of the generous support of members and friends. It is our privilege and our responsibility to ensure the health and future of this fellowship. To this end, your offerings support the ministry of this fellowship, whether by pledge or donation. There are several ways you can give. You can mail checks to the office. We are equipped to accept donations through the Venmo app. Payments through this app should be made to UUFCC offering. Your generosity is always appreciated. Okay, during the offertory, Dave is going to be playing a song, and I forgot your card. It's a meditation medley by Yohim. All right. So now we can have the ushers pass the baskets, please. Thank you. beautiful song. Thank you so much. And thank you for the offering. Now we're going to do Life of the Community. And I have a few things here to read. Okay, the first one is from Catherine Stanwick. This? Okay. She said, the fate of the currently shuttered Charlotte County Cultural Center is being decided. There will be a commissioner meeting concerning the future of the Cultural Center on February 28th at 9 a.m. in the County Administrative Building. If you truly want to have an input into the future of this center, please be there if possible to make your thoughts known. If you can't make it, I have a commissioner's email and you can contact Catherine Stanwick. There's going to be a program council will be on Monday on Zoom at 10:30 using the universal link. Sharon will be the leader of this group. An appreciative thank you to Jerry S. for painting the chain for March's theme, Vulnerability, the chain poster. Also for Jerry and Alan for giving us sparkling clean porch windows. Yay. Oh, thank you. Woo! Okay. And I have another announcement. I heard from Herb that Carol is cancer-free, and I think that's a big announcement. Wow. Okay, please stand in body or spirit for the hymn, number 346 in the gray hymnal, Come Sing a Song with Me. This is our chalice. Please join me in reading the words in the order of service. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate your help. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of hope, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. May these ideals shine in our lives and warm our hearts until we are together again. Go now in peace. Now, I also have here, just in case anybody's interested, 2 chains, 2 keychains, 2 fobs. Do I get a car? Oh, Helen, I want a car. Which one's yours? Okay, anyone else? Okay. Okay, now, because I'm the worship associate and I love to sing, one more time, Please rise in body or spirit and join the choir in singing our closing hymn, number 1057 in the Teal hymnal, Go Lift It Up. Thank you. I gotta find the